So the big news today is that King Charles had to visit a hospital. I know, it doesn't sound like huge news, but it is. He is the heir to the throne. After he experienced temporary side effects from his cancer treatment, and that required a short period of observation. But he is such a brilliant man, isn't he? He just gets on with his job, keep calm, carry on, even as he undergoes cancer treatment, like so many people in the world and, of course, this country. But the show must go on. He has now returned to Clarence House and is acting on medical advice. And as ever, we wish him a steady recovery. Right, let's get down and dirty. Dirty Harry. Only joking. That was a film. And if there are any snowflakes waiting to take offence, it's a joke. This week, Prince Harry decided to step down from Centrebell. Now, this was a charity formed in 2006 in memory of his late mother, the Princess of Wales, to help AIDS orphans in southern Africa. The charity then issued a statement suggesting people in the field were more important than its trustees. Yes, it also stated that whilst trustees are key for governance and regulation, and patrons, especially founders, are an honour to have, it's the people in the field who are advancing their work, no matter what. Now, some people might interpret that as some sort of P45 mention for Prince Harry, although the charity itself was marred in some controversy, and Prince Harry has sensationally stepped back from his role there in protest at what he calls untenable actions of the chair of its board, a Zimbabwean-born lawyer, Sophie Chandorka. Now, Sophie had reported Centrebell's trustees to the Charity Commission in the UK and filed papers in a British court to prevent her removal. Dr. Sophie Chandorka, who has also not accused anyone specifically, alleged issues of poor governance, weak executive management, abuse of power, bullying, harassment, misogyny and misogynoir. She said, beneath all the victim narrative and fiction that has been syndicated to, and that's the press, is the story of a woman who dared to blow the whistle about issues of poor governance, weak executive management, abuse of power, bullying, harassment, misogyny and misogynoir. Make of that what you will. Probably best not to go into too much detail on that one, but it doesn't sound good. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, her new Netflix series has been, well, it's hit another bump in the road. Of course it has. Apparently producers had to dub her asking questions because she spends most of the time talking about herself. With Love Meghan sees Meghan invite famous people to her, well, it's not her mansion, but another one nearby, so she can cook for them. And I use that term loosely, as I'm not sure she can cook or that she is any good at it, as several inconsistencies cast doubt on her handiwork being her own. But hey-ho. Some viewers have pointed out that Meghan spends one episode mostly talking about herself. So apparently, producers had to add voiceovers. In the second episode, Meghan invites Mindy Kaling, an actor in the US, to the house to learn how to make finger food and host a luxury children's party. Unfortunately for Mindy, she didn't really get a word in edgeways, as Meghan spent much of the time speaking about the meals she was making and telling Mindy anecdotes about her personal life, including one story about her science teacher, Mr. Ben, who recently died. Poor Mindy. Meghan's new Shop My page went live this week as well. On her Instagram account, Meghan says, "Many of you have asked, but here you go. A little shopping to start the week, more to come. Link in bio." Red heart emoji. The page is basically promoting other companies whose items, so clothes, shoes, etc., which are some of Meghan's signature pieces, including her white linen shorts, striped shirts, various jumpers in her favourite colours, and her beloved Yves Saint Laurent sandal slides. And it also includes several of her top makeup and beauty tips, essentials. A PR expert blasted it, saying it makes her look like a common influencer. Oh dear, she had it all. Up now is Angela Levin to discuss all these issues. So joining me now to discuss all, Angela Levin. Angela, let's start with, should we start with the King? Because obviously we've had this big news. It's global. Everyone's talking about it. What can you tell us?
Well, I mean, it was a terrible shock when last night the press got told that he was in hospital for just a little bump in the road and that he was coming back very soon home. He did come back very soon to his home. But I think a lot of people couldn't believe that he'd seemed so well and is working so hard that suddenly he still had cancer. Of course, he'd been going every week for treatment. So anyone who was observing that knew that actually he's still having treatment. But nowadays they can give you cancer treatment just to keep you going, and you don't die from it and you don't get rid of it, but you can stay alive and do what you want. And I'm not a doctor, but I suspect that was similar to what he had. So he hasn't been told, that's it, you don't need it anymore, but he has got on with things. In the last 6 months, he's worked enormously hard, doing so many things, which is actually keeps him upbeat. And that's what he wants to do, and that's what he enjoys. The more people, the better. I remember seeing a picture of him when he was trying to resuscitate a mummy, sort of, and he was pressing it to see whether when nurses were telling him it's okay. Yeah. He was putting a lot of energy in it, which I don't think he would do if he didn't feel very well. Anyway, apparently this was sort of the type of thing he would have had each week. But then they saw there was something wrong. We don't know what it was, but they wanted to test him. And then they let him home. And now they say it's forgotten. It was just a little bump in the road, as I just said. And that's it. But don't do anything the rest of today. Don't do anything on Saturday. Don't do anything on Sunday. Well, I think anybody who cares for him and the love of the royal family is not going to put it to one side, because you're naturally going to worry. And you think, will everybody manage it? There's Prince William, heir to the throne, and it might be very difficult for him because Catherine has to be careful what she wants to do. Mind you, those two are very, very close, Catherine and the King, because they both have suffered from cancer and they both know what it's like. And if you haven't had an experience something like that, it's hard for you to know. And when they were both in hospital at the beginning, the King used to go off to see her often as he could in his dressing gown, which I think is very loving. And they can talk all about it. I'm sure she will go over and see him over the weekend, and they will help each other. But on the other hand, the King is now 76. He's obviously fit at a level because he works so hard and just keeps on doing everything. But these things it's a nasty illness, and it can suddenly quickly change and be difficult. So I think there's a reason why we can be concerned, and that hope that he will get very well. They do say that they can still go to Italy in the beginning of April. No, I think it's April the 6th, 7th, something like that. They'll be ready for that. But I know from the past that they say that, and then they say, no, whoever it is can't go because they're not well enough. So we just have to wait and see. Camilla, I think, is quite important in this, the Queen, because she needs to keep him quiet and not to do too much. She often grumbles. You hear her when she's talking to people, and she says, oh, he won't listen to me, he's done too much. But I hope this time he will be sensible and do less, and she will keep her eye on him. You see her sometimes looking very carefully at him, as a loving wife would do, and just keep her eye on him and just let him relax. I mean, we all need to relax. He hadn't had a holiday for quite a long time. So he's got to allow that to help him.
All right. Well, look, we all wish him the best, of course. And, he's so stoic in his work, and he's serious about service to this country. And I for one, am very proud of him.
Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? What about random calls? It's really annoying, isn't it? Data brokers are out there collecting your personal information. Anything from your email, your full name, your address, and even your political affiliation. Cyber criminals can even use AI to mimic the voices of friends and family to trick people into sending them money. And it gets even worse. People out there are getting huge loans taken out in their names without even knowing about it. But don't worry, because the sponsor of this video, Incogni, can help. They reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information is removed from their databases. Incogni continues to make sure that your data is removed automatically from the internet via repeated removal requests. So, how can you get started? Well, step 1, hit the link in the description. Create an Incogni account and tell us whose data you'd like removed. Step 2, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf. Step 3, sit back, relax, and watch Incogni work. They will update consistently so you know when your data has been removed. Incogni is risk-free for 30 days, so you can try it for yourself and you'll get a free refund if the service isn't for you. So take back your personal data today with Incogni. Use the code GBNews using the link in the description below and you'll get 60% off an annual payment plan.
But let's move on to somebody else. Prince Harry. You heard the change of tone. Yes, so
I could just see your face go down.
You know it. But look, he's quitting this charity that he set up in honour of his mother, and it was something that helped AIDS victims and people who were obviously impoverished in Africa. Tell us more about why he quit and what's going down there, what's happening.
Yeah. Let me tell you from the beginning, just very quickly. It was then Prince Charles who helped him find this for children who didn't have parents who had died from cancer. Who had died from, yes. And he thought it would help him get over it a little bit with his mother because there'd be so much to do. So he did, after he left school, he was there for several months and he turned into a different Harry, whereby he loved being with the children. He loved it. And they all said they couldn't believe that a boy of his age, 15, 16, could hold a tiny child in his arms so patiently for so long. He loved that. And he also loved the fact that he could do odd jobs. So he was like, someone making a bit of a fence and doing everything. And it's been his ideal place to go, really. And the other thing about it was that Prince Sehoko had also lost his mother in a car crash. So the two of them had this contact, and it worked very well, and he's loved it. But the trouble is, he hasn't been there for the last 6 years. And I think if you're living in America and you want to do something in Africa, you need to see what that place is like regularly and do what you can. And then a few years ago, the new head arrived, very, very clever woman, Dr. Shanduka, and it was very difficult for the people who'd been part of the looking after them to manage with her. They found her very difficult and sometimes really far too determined to get what she wanted. There was an incident in that actually when last year there was a game of polo and that was going to make lots of money. And Meghan at the end, she was there. Meghan at the end pushed her out the way. She didn't want her to stand next to Harry.
I remember that picture. And the woman looked great in that dress. Did she wear like a white dress?
Very attractive.
Very attractive. Meghan, yes.
Highly intelligent looking woman. So Meghan obviously couldn't care less about that. I mean, she was representing the place, and she was pushing her. She pushed her this way, that way, and in the end, Dr. Shanduka had to go underneath the award, which Meghan was determined to hold onto it, despite having done absolutely nothing at all. And I imagine there was something rather left over there. But what she said, she put out just a quick words. There are people in this world who behave as though they are above the law and mistreat people and then play the victim card and use the press they disdain to harm people and have the courage to challenge their conduct. So she has been very brave, and people believe, she didn't mention Harry's name, but people believe that this was for Harry, and that nobody had actually said that to him at all, because people are polite or they don't want to, or they leave him do what he likes. But I think that it's not necessarily true that, and people have jumped on it. Maybe she meant if they do see it, it doesn't matter, but apparently she doesn't see that because Harry left after all the others left. He wanted to stay there, but he couldn't by himself because she wanted everyone to go. But then she didn't, and she's now taking them to court to try and get them all back, and they're not going to. So it is an incredible mess, and it's difficult to unwrap it at the moment. But he is, and he said he's absolutely devastated. And I think that that's right, because he loved that place and he loved the children and they loved him.
But didn't he leave on his own accord, though? Like, he resigned. He went along with the others, so he resigned. He should have stayed.
Yes. Yeah, but, I don't know what the actual details were, but that's the impression that the papers are giving us. And he talked to me a lot about it, and he was just thrilled. But I think he's rather down at the moment, of course, because Meghan is phenomenally busy bringing out one thing after the other, that he must feel that I can't do anything. And that would make him very unhappy. Some of the things he deserves because he's been very rude and so on. But on the other hand, I think when somebody's crushed like he is, he needs something that he can hang on to. I mean, Meghan would only allow him for 3 minutes in the in the 8 programs about her and how she was doing and love from Meghan. And that's all he was allowed to turn up on the last one for 3 minutes. And what we heard was, "You're wonderful, Meghan, you've done so well." And that's all she wants to hear.
Well, I mean, look, everyone likes to hear good things about themselves and how amazing they are. But she does take a little step further, because I was just reading about her with Love Meghan. And in one of the episodes, what they basically had to do is put voiceovers, apparently, over the bits where she's asking questions, because she then sort of goes and talks about herself. And there was one in particular, the second episode, with a lady called Mindy, who's a big star in the States. And they were talking about, how Mindy was going to show her how to do something. Of course, Meghan talked all over that, and we barely got to hear from Mindy.
That's in the podcast. This isn't in the television series. So that's what she did. I know it's not going to work because she didn't do it the first time. Anyway, she was talking all the time. But actually, all she's interested in telling them about herself. And so they've got to sort of try and do something else just to get the question, the answers in or something out of them. But if it's not going to be, these women are fantastic. They started badly and they become billionaires. Well, they're not even going to tell us that, for goodness sake. So that's ridiculous. And also, I don't know if you've heard the sort of preview of it, that they're all giggling as if they're 10 or 11. Whatever they said, they just giggled. And she said to one of her friends, we didn't know the names at that time, she said to one of the friends that, "I hear you haven't got your boyfriend." "Oh, tell us." And she absolutely collapsed in laughter, as did all the other people. And I thought to myself, if you're 44, do you really need that sort of silly giggle? That's my answer to that one.
But I think this one with Mindy was actually in the TV show. So with Mindy, this one was in Mindy Kaling. She invited her to the house to learn how to make finger food and host a luxury children's party. But as I said, unfortunately for Mindy, she didn't really get a word in edgeways. So what the producers have had to do is dub over some of the show to make sure that it, because otherwise Meghan simply asks the question and then just talks about herself again and brings in a story about a teacher called Mr. Ben who recently died. I feel very sad.
Yeah, she knew him. But the other thing is, that's really funny, is that, not about the person who died, but what really is funny is that she said to Meghan, "Actually, I don't do any of this because I've got someone who does it all for me." She got an
Well,
au
that's the whole
pair or a
point.
nanny or something like that.
Exactly.
So Meghan was telling her how to blow a balloon.
Although I did see an interesting piece with Gwyneth Paltrow. I don't know whether you've seen it. It's like a little
Yes.
clip that's doing the rounds. And clearly they're sort of showing that they are friends. I don't know whether you've seen that clip.
Yes,
But you've seen
each
that.
other. Yeah, as
Yeah.
a joke.
Yeah.
And uh, they just try to make each other look silly. And I think that's also very childish. I mean, I can't see that that's funny. Maybe I'm not very good at laughing, except with you, but I just find that it was all right. But I think all that dressing up and making silly and saying, "Oh dear, I'm making something very nice for everyone," and the other one says, "Oh yes, am I?" I don't really have that sort of patience. I think life's too short to actually get into that. Have a good laugh when it's actually something positive, and not even positive, it's something there to be seen, but not a silly, jokey thing that you're making up, pretending you're against each other, but not being against each other at all, showing all the press that you uh, look as if you don't like each other, but actually, really, you made up this very, very funny story, which isn't funny.
I think she's trying to show that they haven't got a dispute between them. There's nothing wrong, and and maybe there isn't, and I'm glad to see that is the case, if that is the case. But it was just a little skit that's been doing the rounds, and it was good. In a way, I'm glad to see them both together. It means that maybe she does have more friends than we make out. Perhaps the press are inflating things somewhat, but unfortunately, I think character is fate. And when she does these things, these sort of with Love Megans and these podcasts and everything else like that, and we hear from her staff and people who've worked for her, the story isn't a good one often. But,
What do you think about the clothes?
what the clothes? So the new
Yeah.
sort of new page, the Instagram page, where she's directing people to parts of the different people whose things that she buys. Like I think she loves Yves Saint Laurent slip-ons, sandals, and all this sort of thing.
The
Yeah, look,
£650.
yeah, it's a lot of money. A lot of them are really expensive. And one of the journalists, what is it that he called her? She just said just like a common influencer is what they referred her to. And come on, she's married to Prince Harry. She didn't have to do all that. She could have gone in this route where she's talking about helping people and all that. And she's kind of
But no,
I don't know.
she wants to be a billionaire of her own making, and she can earn a lot of money from the clothes, because the minute you press the page, she's got, I think, about between 10 and 30% of what the thing costs, and then she takes more if you buy the goods. So this is extraordinary. But when you see, it's not really for most people, if you see it, a very, very boring dress that's over £1,000, and you see those shoes with over 600. And what makes me laugh is that when she was working for the royal family, she made a huge fuss about wearing beige, and she said that the family said to her she must wear it because they didn't want to see her, right? And that's what she said. They felt that, they didn't want her to wear a bright colour. And now nearly all her clothes are beige or cream. I don't mind, you can wear whatever you like, but it's just hypocritical as usual.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't mind. I'm glad that she's decided to make her own money and do her own thing. It's good for her. Good for her. But, don't try and convince us that she's something that she's not. And I would still say, look, Meghan, go and make up with your dad. Life is too short. If you're such a kind, empathetic, wonderful person and welcoming, welcome your father back into the fold, really, seriously. Angela Levin, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. The brilliant Angela Levin.
Thank you very much.
That's Angela Levin's opinion. I'm Nana Akua. Make sure you subscribe to the GB News channel for more.